Hey, everybody, welcome back to this dynamic team of entrepreneurs. Guys, it's good to talk with you every other week to help other people grow their business. So myself, Randy Denhout, Jeff Sloan, Simon Thomas. Hello, everybody. I know we talk a lot about group coaching, but today we're going to start off with Simon. You have a stat. Why don't you share that, and then let's dive in.
Yeah, I found this very interesting, and I think that it's just an interesting stat that I heard that 8% of goals made are hit. So, and 8% of people actually hit their goals. And somebody was talking about like that in a negative way, and I found it interesting because somebody that I don't always hit my goals, and I strive to hit them, and my thing is set big goals, and if you hit them at 70-80%, you're looking good. But somebody that does set goals and somebody that does really concentrate on hitting them, and I do believe I do hit my goals, I like it, because if work and life and business is very, very hard, right? And making, becoming successful in your career is very tough. And if everybody hit their goals, or that stat was 8% and went to 20 or 30%, think about how much harder it would be, right? If you had that much more competition out there. So I found it interesting. And I think all of us, from being an attorney and being an entrepreneur and helping people grow their businesses, to a coach and all the things we've all done in real estate, I found that interesting, but I just kind of wanted to do an open, get your guys' opinion on it.
Well, one of the things I love about it, if I can jump in, is there's so much upside for the 8%. To get to the 8%, to get in the 8% club, I'm just calling it that, takes a lot of work. And it takes a lot of consistency. But if that 8% can execute just 1% more effectively every single day, that's a way they can double or triple their business, because the other 92% aren't ever going to follow up or execute the way that they execute. So to me, as I hear that, I think one of the hardest things in business is aggressive consistency, right? Being the most consistent, being the best person with the best follow-up. And if you can do that, and you can be in the 8% of the top 8% with the best follow-up, I think you can actually grow your business so much faster.
Right.
Yeah, you almost have to wonder what, I know we're focused on the 8%, but I think part of our the richness here of this podcast and having our collective wisdom, effectively aggregated, is trying to help that 92%, right? And you got to wonder, and I asked the question, why isn't the 92%, assuming 8% is the number, why isn't the 92% becoming part of that collective 8? And I think it goes back to what we've talked about. I mean, you talked about, this sort of aggressiveness, this follow-up, but, again, a lot of it goes back to mindset, visualization. Are you going to, are you mapping it out? Do you have a direction? And I think too many people get caught in this sort of web of, I got to finish this. Oh, wait, something else just popped up. And they're not completing tasks, and they don't have a to-do list, and all the things we've talked about. I think just kind of slow steps that are methodical and directed toward a purpose and a goal gets you into that 8% camp really quickly.
Right.
I think too, it starts with the art of goal setting itself. I think, John, I do agree it's important to be aggressive. You don't want any lobs, any gimmies in the equation of setting a goal and achieving it. But at the same time, you want to make sure you're able to achieve your goals. I mean, some meaningful percentage of them.
Agree.
And if you're not achieving some meaningful percentage of them, you're going to start to create self-doubt. And, am I equipped to do this? Am I capable? And all those other kinds of things that creep into your mind and can really harm your ability to be productive going forward and to achieve goals going forward. So I think the art of goal setting needs to be one where you cut that balance, that artful balance between, setting them high enough, being aggressive, so that they really mean something when you achieve them, but also that are achievable, and not set too high that you never hit them.
Yeah. I just want to comment on that real quickly, because I agree with you. I think lowering the bar for consistency is key. I think sometimes when I'm talking to salespeople or whatever type of role it is, their initial thing is they think they got to go big or go home. But
it's not binary.
Correct. Right. I think it's, do 2 of something, right? It's kind of like I sometimes I'll use the analogy of like working out. People think if I don't work out for an hour, I don't work out. Well, go for a 10-minute walk, right? You got to kind of lower the bar on certain days for consistency, because that's what wins. So
I think too, the challenge with goal setting with most people is it's easy to set a goal, but like when I coach and train, I use health all the time, because health is easy to measure, right? Like I want to go from 250 pounds to 200 pounds. I want to run every day for 2 miles. Like that's easy to measure. I want to burn 1,500 calories a day, whatever. Like that's easy to measure. Where business is not easy to measure, because not everything you're doing is like, I want to wake up and make $500 a day. I want to wake up and make 400 calls, whatever. But sometimes it's like, who am I calling and what am I saying? And, where it's like you could just barrel through working out. But I think one of the things is what's very important is with goal setting is, instead of just making it like, make sure whatever your goals are, those 1 or 2 things, they're measurable in your business, right? I mean, are you guys, did you guys find that hard to track your goals throughout the year? Because a lot of people will set one for the end of the year, and then they get halfway through and they're like, I'm not even close, I'll just adjust it. And I don't believe in adjusting goals either. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most recent example of somebody truly reaching their goals, it's really not somebody, it's a few people. Virgin Atlantic's, help me out with his name.
Yeah, Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. Then you get, Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin. I mean, these guys, took an idea, despite all the money they have. Let's put that aside. They had a goal, reaching space. Now, do they stop there? I doubt it. I mean, I read one time, I think it was in the journal, that Bezos wants to see, wants to populate, outer space.
Yeah.
So again, these are grand goals, but they started somewhere. But look at where we are in 2021. They've achieved that goal of reaching space, and it wasn't the space shuttle. It wasn't, the Hubble. It wasn't some satellite that the government. This is private enterprise, and they've done it. So we're no different, any one of us. But obviously, it doesn't have to be as grand. But again, measurable, small steps, and they got there.
Yeah. And it didn't happen overnight. I mean, you're talking Amazon. Bezos was, he didn't, he was what, 1994 he started Amazon. That was 30 years ago.
Books.
Yeah, he was selling books. Now he's taking people to outer space. But it didn't happen overnight. And I think that's where people. I think we're going to go off on another tangent. But like, I think that's where like Instagram and like all these social platforms. Everyone thinks it's instant, right? They see a young person next to a car or a big house, and it's like, hey, is it even theirs? Who knows? But they just think it's instant, and it's like, I should be. It's like, no, it's just 20, 30 years of goal setting and accomplishing and building, and I've been doing this for 10 years in real estate, and Johnny, you've been coaching for, you've been in business for 20 plus years, and all these, it's years. And I think that is where people miss it. They're not in it for the long haul, but you're right, Randy. It's insane what these guys have accomplished in one lifetime.
Yeah. Or as I like to say, it took me 25 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think if Bezos had said in 1994, I want to go to outer space, you'd think he's nuts. You might still think he's nuts now, but the reality is he is capable of, he's just proven it. He's capable of achieving it now, because he didn't say that in 94. He might have thought it in 94. He didn't say it in 94. What he did set, his goal wasn't to go to outer space. It was, I got to build a successful company. There's lots of millions of goals in between. But, he, to your guys' point, he approached it the right way, methodically, set goals, built on them, leveraged success to drive further success, build on it, and so on, and parlay until he got to where he could make a statement. My next goal is I'm going to be the first guy in outer space.
Yeah. I think I love this topic, and I love what everybody's sharing. And I think I just want to go back to Simon as far as, hitting goals and adjusting. I think I think course correcting is a really important part of business. And on Sundays, when you're planning for the week, every day was not created equally. And every day of every week of every month sometimes is different. And so as you're planning out on Sunday, I think it requires a lot of strategic planning on Sunday, saying, okay, this is what I can accomplish on Monday. This is what I can accomplish this Tuesday, because I'm traveling. I have out of the office meetings, but by the end of the week, I've course corrected, or I forwarded certain goals of mine for the upcoming week or 2 weeks from now, so I can course correct and mentally keep it moving forward, instead of just just using a health example. It's not a diet that you can start over every single Monday, because then you just fall behind. And I think that delayed, and just one other comment on, making space for things that aren't in your calendar. And things are going to pop up and say, okay, I didn't finish this Friday what I wanted to finish, but I'm going to course correct, come in on Saturday and work a little bit, which I think a lot of people don't do. And then I'm going to work on Sunday a little bit and course correct, and maybe stay a half an hour later every day the following week. I think there's consequences that come with the territory of course correcting your business.
Yeah. I see it all the time with agents. Like, they're always in my office and they're like, Simon, how did you do it? And they're waiting for me to give them that one nugget that's going to take them from, 5 million to 25 million, or that one like turbo button that, I'm hiding from them. Right. And it's like, I tell them all the time, guys, you know what I'm really good at? I'm really good at motivating myself, and I'm really good at mindset. I know every single day there's going to be a challenge, and when it comes, I embrace it. Like, I'm ready to go when it comes. I don't wake up every day thinking this is going to be a perfect day. Like, I have trained myself for mindset, and I'm not the best realtor. I'm not the hardest worker, but I'm not the best at mindset, but I've gotten better and better at it. And I remember when I started Adobe, my brothers, who are huge mentors to me, they're like, are you ready for this? Like, this is not a 1, 2, 3 year commitment. This is like, this is going to be you're in it for the long haul. This is going to be like, most companies don't build and sell and now they're millionaires. It's like, are you ready for this for the next 20 years, 30 years of your life to build something great? And you're like, wow. And you don't really think about that. And Jeff, you probably see this being, helping a lot of people with startups and all the things you do. Like, are people ready for that in the beginning? Do they understand that? I mean, when you come across it, what do you say to them? And do they get it?
Right, Simon, I'm so glad you brought that up. And it's so true. I mean, you gave your own personal example, but you're absolutely right. We see it all the time with entrepreneurs. It's one thing to dream about having a business and all the success that a few of us enjoy. We're able to get there. But mindset is critical. You've got to go into this with the right mindset. You've got to go in, equipping yourself not only with knowledge and skills, but also with a kind of you've got to set yourself up to have that tenacity required to hang in there when challenges present themselves and not get knocked down. If you do get knocked down, you got to be able to pick yourself back up. And that's actually why I kind of referred earlier to, you talk about so few people actually hit their goals. Well, I think that it might, in part, speaks to, I think people give up. People get daunted. They get, there's attrition, exhaustion, and all the rest that goes with it. But I also think it's really critical to make sure people have a reasonable shot at meeting their goals, because you've got to feel that sense of the little successes along the way in order to ultimately reach that big success, and that will help you with that mindset. So yeah, but that's a critical thing, Simon. You gotta have it right in the head, and frankly, the people around you have to be right in the right mindset and willing to support you and believe in you, or at least give you the opportunity, to go get it.
Yeah, I believe many goals have. I'm sorry, JD. I believe many goals. Sometimes I think, at least from my experience, many people want to set a certain goal or goals, and they're relatively specific. I want to make 10 calls today, or I want to reply to X number of emails, whatever it might be. And I think this question goes back to Simon, and then, Jeff, and, even you, Jeff, I guess to the three of you. How important is it to be specific in your goal setting versus more goal oriented or more broad stroke goal, setting, so that we achieve something by year end or month end or quarter end or whatever it is? Does that, effectively get the troops and the group to move in a better direction?
So for me, go ahead, John.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Simon.
For me in my business, a tip that was given to me was a scorecard. So I have my goals versus my actuals, and it's not 100 numbers. It was like 4 numbers that I watch weekly. And, what do I got to do to move the needle on those things? And that's when my business really started exploding, when I started paying attention to, my sales volume, my units, and like my pending deals. That was it. Right. But now what do I got to do to move those? I didn't count how many calls I make. I didn't count, but what kind of things do I need to do? And then what I also developed with a scorecard was a daily routine. And I realized I was very bad at time blocking because my career didn't allow me to time block. If I got a call, I was going, right? Like my schedule was never more than 24 hours out. Hey, Simon, I need to see this house. See you, I'm gone, I'm going, right? In the middle, I'm on hole 12, I'm walking out of there to go show a house. Like that's how my life was for 7 years. And people will say, well, that you're crazy, but that's how I did it. That's how I built my business. But I always knew that I had to get that 15 to 30 minutes in every single day of this little routine that I put together. That helped me build my scorecard. And then throughout the year, I did like milestone, like big things that I did for my business. And it helped me really move the needle. And that scorecard allowed me to look at it every single week. Every Wednesday I looked at it. And I really didn't look at it until then, because you can go crazy looking at it as well. That's what worked for me.
Yeah. For me, I've always kind of driven my business off of scorecards. I agree with you, Simon. I think the more you can take the thinking out of things, the better. Using a calendar, having very specific and measurable goals, and then using your calendar to outline when those goals get done, and time blocking effectively, and really becoming a student of your calendar. And so you don't leave it by chance that it gets done. It's actually in your calendar to get done. And so I think those are, I just want to highlight for me, I remember when I may have shared this before, but when I was 18, my dad signed me up for a time management class, a weekend time management class. I was the youngest person by what seemed like 30, 40, 50 years. But I started learning and became obsessed with how to use a calendar. It was a Franklin Planner class, which is now Franklin Covey. And it's amazing how many hours, 4 minutes a day saved is 24 hours a year. So then just keep on doing the math. The more you can put in your calendar and exactly what you need to do in that time block will save you so much time. And it takes the thinking out of it. So I don't have to rethink what it is. How many times have you put it to do in your calendar and the computer misspells it, and you were absolutely positive you remember what that appointment would be, and then you're like, wait, I didn't put the person's last name, what it is, and now I have no recollection of what I'm supposed to do. And so then we have to think for 5 minutes, and that costs aggravation. Forget the money.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think managing, not only setting the goals properly from the beginning so that you have a shot to achieve them, but they're stretch goals to some degree as well, getting that right balance, but also managing against it, and everyone's got their own style of doing that. It's one thing to give yourself an opportunity to realize those goals. Now we're talking about the execution to get them done and to realize success. Your style, John, is to block out all your time and everything else. My style is I just list those. I don't block my time like that, but I certainly go into every day with key things I want to make sure I try to achieve that day. And by the end of the day, I look at my list, and I'm certainly looking at it during the day. It's helping me manage what I do and what I do next and so on, and execute. But everybody's got their style. You need some way to track and measure. Whichever way works best for you.
Yeah, and it also, and that's well said, Jeff. It's also a function of, and I'm just thinking about like the NBA Finals last night, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, you have a goal to win the game, but then you have objectives. How are we going to win the game? Mm-hmm. So it's not just, measuring, of course, but it's also planning and execution. And I honestly believe, many people get lost in the fog every day. And they know they want to do it. They have a wish on doing it, but they're not executing. There's really no concrete objective, or if there is, it's either not written down or they're not executing properly. But there has to be a plan of attack. There has to be.
And an expectation. Like you bring up the football analogy. Like I always found it interesting. You have these teams who every single year, like either make it to the Super Bowl or just make it, right? And then you have like again, we're going to go down a rabbit hole, but then you have like the Lions, who it's like their goal is to make the playoffs, right? But then you have like New York and Pittsburgh, who it's like their goal is to win the Super Bowl, right? And they hit it at 70 or 80%. They still went really far into the playoffs. Where like and that will grow the better you get. Like so I think your expectation too of yourself, when you get better, your expectations get bigger, and it just kind of, it works when you're dedicated to it.
Yeah, in future episodes, we'll talk about whether it's the coach or the players and who to blame.
Yeah,
right.
But I think
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to go down there. That's why I don't want to talk. But you brought it up first.
But I think dedication is important. Self-discipline is really, really important. I mean, if you look at any of the elite athletes, the discipline, the showing up early, the practice, I mean, we've got to have self-discipline. And I think we got to measure our own self-discipline and say, okay, if my discipline is at X, if I can get it up, this much, then I'm gonna really evolve my business and just my own self. And I think that takes a lot of energy and a lot of time, and you got to commit.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. That's a great stat. So wait, let's go back to the stat. So because we can finish there, right? So the 8% that finish their goals, maybe we can each give a tip on how people can get into the 8%, right? How can somebody get into the 8%? I think we've talked a lot about today tips on how that can happen, but I'll start off. I think that the first tip to getting into that 8% is plan your day. At the end of every day, plan tomorrow. I'm a big fan of planning the week, but at the end of it, to make it simple, at the end of today, make it a non-negotiable to plan your tomorrow. Once you master that, start planning 2 days. Once you master that, kind of evolve it from there. But I think the pre-planning and getting mentally ready for the next day is key.
I'll jump in next.
Yeah.
Well said, John. I mean, for me, it's what I kind of said earlier on, and kind of the theme of my comments today, and that is that make sure you're artful about the way you set your goals. Make sure that they're high enough to be goals you can be proud of once you achieve them, and that really means something toward the trajectory of where you're trying to go, whether it's your business or in life in general. Make the goals meaningful, but make them achievable. Make them achievable, and to do that, I think it's also important to make them clear. I think, Randy, you mentioned that, and it struck home as you said it. You got to know, if you're going to play the game of football, you got to know where the end zone is. You got to know the ideas to get the ball across the goal line. If you're playing basketball, you got to know the goals to get the ball in the hoop. If you don't know those things, you don't have a shot to execute to win. Yeah. So make your goals achievable. Know where you're going. Make them reasonably achievable at the very least. And I think that's my tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I truly believe, I mean, in order to be successful, or in this case, again, reach that goal, is you have to be smart and you have to know your industry. Everything, I echo everything you guys have said. I mean, specific, attainable, measurable. You have to understand your industry, because if you don't understand your industry and what it takes to get to that goal, you're going to fumble along the way. I mean, Simon, you said it best. You got 4 key metrics you watch. That's pretty easy. It's pretty sustainable. Now reaching them, I know, is a challenge, but you've identified what is seemingly pretty simple. These 4, if they continue to increase, I know I'm reaching that goal. How I get there is another issue, but that comes with identifying and understanding your industry and your business. You have to know that, and everything else falls into place.
And I agree with that. And I think one of the things that, a lot of people misunderstand when I say this to them, you got to surround yourself around those 8%ers. So those people who, people say, well, I grew up with these guys and those are my guys. Yeah, but they're good guys. I'm not telling you to not see them or not hang out with them. But I found the second I started hanging out with those forward-thinking people, with those people who thought differently, who, they thought bigger, and they were very disciplined and strategic, and just had their stuff together in the business world. And my mind started changing, and I think surrounding yourself around the right people, and you are who you hang out with. My dad used to always say to me, you want to be a bowler, hang out with a bowler, right? Like that's always you say. I never understood it when I was 3 years old, but I start to get that when I'm older, and it's not a bad thing. It's just telling you are who you hang out with. And I think when you surround yourself around the right people, it doesn't have to be in your industry, in any career, these are just people who wake up every single day motivated. You will find yourself going to that level, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it, guys. Always fun, talking with you and learning from you. For more information, everybody, on the group coaching models that we're all doing, check out johndwoskin.com. Go to group coaching. Jeff and I have one for new entrepreneurs. Randy and I have one for attorneys. Simon and I have one for residential realtors, and Rob and I have one for people who want to mix up business and a little meditation. Appreciate you all. Always appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Great
Bye-bye.
stuff today.
Thank you.